Hello, hello. I'm My Holland, your French Aussie Vietnamese guide on this exciting cultural journey. I love chatting with fascinating leading women. And what we're going to do is we're going to explore how their cultural background has informed their leadership styles. Here we delve into fascinating interplay between culture, leadership, especially focusing on how those women are shaping Vietnam. So this is season 1, and season 2, we will chat with foreign women working in Vietnam. Our guest today is the amazing Denise Sandquist, a true global citizen with an inspiring story. So born in Vietnam and adopted to Sweden as a baby, Denise embarked on a remarkable journey to reconnect with her roots, culminating in a moving reunion with her biological mother, thanks to a viral Facebook post. A polyglot fluent in 6 languages, so Denise has lived in 8 countries beyond her impressive linguistic and cultural experiences. She is also a successful entrepreneur and the founder of 𝗪𝗂𝗶𝗶𝗿, Asia's biggest female-focused AI social and dating app, boasting over 2 million downloads in under 2 years. So, Denise, shall we speak in English or in French today?
Both works, but I think English is going to be the best.
Okay, let's do it in English. It's probably easier for everyone. So, I recall that we met a few years ago when we were involved with the Women in Business for EuroCham in Vietnam. And it's really, really good, to see you again and talk again, about our favorite topic, about, women at work. So I have plenty of questions. We're going to have a chat together. And I just want us to start the session today with a very easy question that we always ask with everyone is, what do you eat for breakfast? How does your breakfast reflect your global background? Are you a 𝗪𝗶 mì kind of person, or what else? So what do you do for breakfast?
In Vietnam, it's pho that I would prefer. 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗿, so chicken pho.
Okay.
But I think that I like coffee, so I guess that's quite global. So I'm not a big breakfast person. But if I'm in Vietnam and I'm going to eat breakfast, it's definitely pho.
Awesome. Okay. And today I believe that you're not in Vietnam, so you are based in the US at the moment, right? So basically you're commuting between Sweden, Vietnam, and the US. Is it correct?
Yeah, so I've been living in Vietnam since 2018, but we're launching 𝗪𝗂𝗶𝗶𝗿 in Sweden now, actually. And then the plan is to launch in the US. So now, since August last year, I'm more in Sweden and the US. But I haven't left Vietnam, so I guess it's, as you said, the 3 of them.
Awesome. Okay, so where is your home? Where do you feel like home the most? I know it's a big question.
Yeah, I would always say like Vietnam, but it hasn't been easy, I think, to. I really like the sun, like the warm weather. I really love to live in 𝗪𝗏 Minh City. But my parents live in Sweden, so that's also home for me. So I think that honestly, right now, it's the US is just like, it's actually where I spent the most time now. So I guess it's also like a new home. So no easy answer to the question, but I still feel that Vietnam is still most home, I guess.
Yeah, which leads to another question. So we're talking about, having many homes and you feel at home in many places. But, when you have that lifestyle of commuting, and I feel you completely, how does this lifestyle impact your sense of belonging?
I think that for me as a person, I've been basically when I left Sweden more when I was 20, moved to Moscow. It's been quite natural for me to been moving and so. And I think for me personally, I'm very focused where I am. So I don't really miss so much when I'm at some place because I really focus. So I think that also that in combination with I'm a very curious person. So before when I've been to different countries, I always try to learn the local language. I try to really embrace the culture and to meet a lot of people from the culture. So I just totally go into it. And I think that creates a sense of belonging where you are. And I think that's, for me, since I was adopted from Vietnam as a baby, it's like always been quite Swedish in one way and then also Vietnamese in one way. So for me, it's never been really a need to define where I belong exactly. So for me, I think it's quite easy. I belong at different places, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's a very big question, but you explained it very well. And so I know that you have an extraordinary life. You've been traveling so much, and I think that you said that you lived in 8 countries. You have really a lot of experiences, So basically from your Vietnamese heritage to your entrepreneur mindset, and you work with women. So when we really think about all this, how do those experiences shape your perspective on the world and also your approach to entrepreneurship?
I think that it's a really good question. I think that it's so suitable with entrepreneurship, because when you are familiar with different cultures, you need to adapt and you need to understand how people are thinking. And I think with entrepreneurship, it's really about being adaptable. So I think you really learn to something from living in different countries. And I also think that it's about the people you have with you on the journey of being an entrepreneur. I have learned during these years, it's very important. And I'm not saying that I'm an expert and so I think that it probably helps you if you can understand different people to try to, when you are recruiting people or if you are raising money or just it's a people's business. So I think that has been helpful. And I would say that something that I didn't know when I came to Vietnam was how strong Vietnamese women are, at the same time as many are so beautiful. Not saying that women in other countries are not as beautiful. It's just that it's very interesting to see how they navigate sort of being feminine and being strong and being sort of smooth and soft at the same time. So I would still say that my style is more, I guess, like European, but I think I definitely have been inspired by the way that Vietnamese women are navigating business. I think it's really, really cool and inspirational.
I love what you mentioned, I love what you just said, about, being able to embrace, more than the beauty, when we talk about, feminine intelligence, but, you can combine so many intelligence and so many things that we're learning when we work in Vietnam as well. And I absolutely 100% with you, when I work in Vietnam, coming from Australia here, you see things differently, especially, entrepreneur women, absolutely. So you have started 𝗶𝗀𝗶𝗶 so a few years ago, and I do recall this. So it's a bit of a nickname of, so the dating lady, is it right? So you are relaunching 𝗶𝗀𝗶𝗶 globally, and you mentioned in the US as well. And you have like a groundbreaking approach to the app, right? So I understand that the new version eliminates the traditional swiping and liking, but you are matching users based on the compatibility algorithm and setting up their dates. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? What is it about? Not that I'm looking to date, I'm married, but I really want to know.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And I think, to be really honest, when starting 𝗶𝗀𝗶𝗶, we grow very fast. And it was the first time that I started something, and it's very good in many ways. And then product wise, I think that we understood along the journey that it wasn't really what we wanted to do, sort of, because it was a bit different from other dating apps, but it wasn't that different, if I should be really honest. So I think that the last years we've been really, especially the last year, really looking into what is needed, that's what we want to do. I think that if you were I think that it's a bit of a problem. It's that very difficult these days to date and to meet people. We are so connected, but never been so lonely. So the way that we do it is that we don't have any swipes, likes, or profiles, as you said. Instead of most dating apps, you focus on that you should sign up really quickly, and then you should be there in the app, and then you should swipe around, and then you should get a lot of people. It's more like a game. But we are focusing on actually trying to get to know the person. So in the sign-up flow, we ask a lot of questions. So it's about your values, what you want, who you are, what you're looking for. It's a lot of different questions. We only also approve people who can verify themselves. Because it's a big problem with dating apps that there's a lot of scams, and there's a lot of, especially now with AI, it's very interesting that you don't know if you're speaking to a real person, because a person can just actually, first of all, a lot of AI generated images, and then you can just take the conversation that you're typing, and you can put it into an AI tool and get a response and so. So I think that authenticity has never been as important. With 𝗶𝗀𝗶𝗶 anyway, we have rethought this, how traditional dating apps work. So you sign up, it takes longer time, you verify, you need to, basically answer to a question about yourself. And then we run the answers in an algorithm. And then if we find a match for you, and then it's important to say that it's not that, like maybe on the paper you are 94% match, but that doesn't mean that, the physical meeting is so important. And that is why we really want to emphasize that we don't want people to stay and chat the whole time, because I think that especially these days, it's so important to just get out there and meet. And that is the whole thing, that it's not that easy. Just like the whole dating app problem is that you swipe, but the swipe to an actual meeting, it's so hard actually. So what we want people to do is that if you say that we see indications on that you would be compatible for something long term. So we say that it's something, a deal breaker. In that case, we don't introduce people to each other, because it's also a difficulty when you meet someone and you should try to get to know each other, but it shouldn't be as an interview, but at the same time, you don't want to waste time and so on and so. So it's good if someone has sort of like vetted a little bit. That's okay. It could be something compatible. Anyway, so if you find someone that we believe is compatible with you, then we ask if both want to meet. And if both want to meet, then you pay. So the whole business model is risk shared. So with traditional dating apps, you pay for a subscription. So you stay single and then you pay. And the best user on a dating app is actually someone who stays single their whole life, because that's how you make money. But we make money on people actually meeting in real life. So that means that our incentive is so different. And then if both want to meet, we decide on time and place, and that happens inside of the app based on the preferences that you said when you sign up. And then no chat, but 2 hours before the actual date, that is when the chat opens up. So then you can say, I'm coming late, or I'm the one in the red shirt, or something like that. So then you can coordinate. And then you meet, and after the meeting, you give feedback. And if you want to see the person again, we keep the chat window open, and you're open to see the person again and so. So yeah, I'm very excited about this, because I've been in this space now for a while. And I think that's something that really frustrated me, was that I sincerely always wanted to connect people better. And the idea to 𝗪𝗂𝗶𝗶 came because I saw a lot of, especially Vietnamese friends, that felt a lot very stressed because they wanted to find someone, because Vietnamese culture is very pushed on actually finding a partner. And it really hurt me to see all these once again, amazing, strong, independent, beautiful, competent women and young women, and the stress that they felt. So I really always wanted to create something that would feel safe, that could actually solve the problem. But I think that with a lot of iterations and a lot of trying out and so, this is what we have landed in. So that is the new 𝗪𝗂𝗶𝗶 that we are launching. Yes.
I absolutely love it. And I love also the fact that you mentioned that, it's a safe way to meet. And yes, and I think that everybody hear about the scams, and those dating app. But I really like the fact that you say, you're curating the place based on, both side preferences. So it's quite different rather than having one party who is taking the lead or whatever you call it. But yeah. So what do you believe, what do you believe in terms of the future of romantic relationship and the creation of meaningful connections? What does it look like to you?
Yes. Okay. So I think there are two ways. I think a lot of the, tendencies is I think it's a bit dangerous with giving people what they want, sort of, which is I'm lazy, so I want to, or it's social media, it's everything is becoming so digital. AI girlfriends or different sites that you can get that kind of satisfaction that maybe you should maybe have in real life with a person, but in different ways, you can get it in other ways. So I think there's a trend that goes that way. But at the same time, I also think that these days we are very tired also of everything that is so online. And what I can see now is that this whole community, people are leaving the dating apps, people are trying to find offline activities. So I really think that the combination between offline and online is how, we cannot online is a very efficient way to coordinate things and find people. But I think that, okay, a way to speak, of course, then, but you can maybe in the initial interaction or the initial setup can be online. But then I think that a more push on offline, it's more important. And I think that, all over the world, people are more aware of mental health, and how do I feel good? And I think that more people will realize that actually it is when I am with my friends, I actually don't get that even though I feel happy when I'm scrolling, like, and I'm seeing all these like videos, it's actually important for me to get out there and meet people. And also when people understand even more that, actually a partner is a very important, I mean, you are not using dating apps or so. So I guess that you're in a, happy marriage relationship. I mean, it's very important, the person that we decide to spend the rest of our life with, if we believe in that. And I think that it's a great investment to do in your mental health and like your well-being, like it can be your career and like your future. So I think that it's going to be more awareness towards that. And at the same time as everything becomes more digital, I think that even more people are going to feel that it's like a breaking point. I feel that people are very tired of everything online. So I think that people really try to create more meaningful relationships offline. I think that's the future.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're touching on a fulfilling word, I mean, for me, I mean, I see it for women. But I think, what you mentioned before, like safety is such a big keyword. I've been chatting with a few people before, when you're dating. Safety is always the first word, which comes to mind for any woman. What's your view on that? How do you address that even more?
Yeah, I think that actually, like, to be honest, like I didn't think so much about it like before, but I think more about it now, just like how, I mean, as a woman, you are, as a safety in general, because like we live in a partly dangerous world. I mean, you never know. As a woman, like you are physically, you are weaker. And I think that you always need to be more careful as a woman. And I think that's very sad that women cannot feel as, you need to take an extra look over the shoulder. You need to, when you walk home, as my friends say, they have like the keys in their hand to be able to like defend themselves. I think it's so sad. I think it's like, I mean, it's difficult to understand how it is if you're not a woman yourself, I think. Not saying that all women feel unsafe, but it's just the fact that if there's a problem, I think if you have experienced it yourself, then you feel more passionate about doing something about it, and you can actually do something about it that works for your gender in this case. So I think that's the whole thing, that building for equality, if you speak about 𝗪𝗂𝗶𝗊, it is really about that, even though it means that we're not going to get in as many members, we call them members, into the platform, it means that all the people that we're going to get in are actually vetted by us. So, and I can really say that it's just to take a measurement like that, which means basically that, okay, you get it so more difficult for everyone to get in actually, because you need to spend more time. And you're going to lose a lot of people that don't want to verify. But I think that's the fact that you're doing that, it's important for safety. And also that when you are booking the date with us, we have already, we know where you're going to be at the cafe or the restaurant. So there are measurements that you can text us if anything happens, or we know that you are there at this place. So I think these are just small ways to look at it. But I also think it's, you need to start somewhere. And I think it's really like a mindset of that if you want to create quality, a lot of women will appreciate that as well. And with 𝗪𝗂𝗶𝗊, we have been quite female focused, and it's been different in what way we have been female focused with different features. But I think that, as you say, that, okay, astrology for some people are important, but I think that for everyone as a woman, safety is very, very, very important. And it's also when you feel safe as a woman, then you can start to like venture out and like be more yourself or feel more like relaxed and so. So if you don't start with feeling safe, then it's difficult to go further from that. So I think that's the very basis, and that's what we're trying to do with 𝗪𝗂𝗶𝗊.
Is there any meaning about 𝗪𝗂𝗃? I'm sure there is.
It means to take a coffee or a snack with, like have a meaningful time with someone in Swedish.
Yeah. I thought I had read it somewhere, but that's beautiful. That's well chosen. So, as a successful woman entrepreneur who has navigated many, many, many cultures, many challenges as well, what would be your personal but also professional advice, for people who are listening to you today, especially if they want to have a startup, or if they want just to strengthen, their career in whatever path they are? What would be their advice, do you think, based on the many cultures, many countries that you have lived in and experienced?
I think that if you want to go into and having a startup or your own company, I think if you're in Vietnam, it's actually quite, it's easier in some ways, because it's, it is cheaper to hire people, for example. It's a good like country to like start in, I think. I think that for women specifically, when it comes to entrepreneurship, I think it's depending on what kind of business that you want to create. We say that you want to have more like a bootstrap business, like you want to grow it like more like slower and more sustainable. And so there's nothing right or wrong. I think, okay, patience, resilience, and adaptability. Specifically, I think if you want to build a venture-backed startup, which is basically, because that is the business model for all VCs, that they want to invest in hopeful potential unicorn, and then they're going to be okay with that. A lot of companies in their portfolio are going to fail, but some are going to be really big. So if you want to venture on that track and you want to raise money and you want to go that fast, as it's required a lot when you raise money, I think especially then you need to prepare yourself for that. It's going to be a bit tough. Like you need to really believe in yourself and like be afraid to not be afraid to really get like rejections, like keep pushing and just prepare yourself. And for anyone that wants to start a business, and it doesn't matter like culture, I think that belief in yourself is important. And it's easy to say, oh, believe in yourself. But if you don't believe in yourself, then why would other people believe in you? And specifically when there's such a high fail rate for startups, like, if 90% plus of businesses like are going to go out of business, like in 10 years, like all the startups, like you never know in the early stages. But if you anyway get more capital, or if you believe in yourself that you can get good people with you, I mean, that's an advantage. And I think that to believe in yourself, you need to keep challenging yourself, because I have in some way a quite good belief in myself in things, and that comes from that I have constantly challenged myself and going to different countries, military service, Thai boxing, doing things that I did not know. Everyone sucks in the beginning, and I think that just like accept that in the beginning with anything you're not going to be so good, but you keep trying and trying and trying, and the more times that you do something that was difficult or you didn't think that you would handle, and so like the confidence that builds, that builds up and accumulates. And that's how I believe that you can build self-confidence. That is like some advice that I would give,
Love it.
especially women.
Love it. This is word of wisdom here. So absolutely loving it. So you say working in Vietnam, so you have lived in many, many countries. But when we are talking about Vietnam, so Vietnam has specific challenges because you are also Vietnamese and Swedish, plus, a lot of experience from other countries. But specifically, when you had your startup in Vietnam, what was this really specific challenges that you really face, as Denise?
I would say that it has a little bit with culture to do, actually. And before I started 𝗬𝗂𝗶𝗶, I was working 3 years at a Swedish Vietnamese company. So I was the only foreigner among 70 Vietnamese. And I learned to speak Vietnamese and spoke Vietnamese with them. So it wasn't like I came to Vietnam and didn't know anything at all. And I can speak Vietnamese. But I would say that it's a bit challenging when people have a different way to work than you want it. And it's really difficult sometimes to navigate around that. Okay, this is how it is in Vietnam versus on like, okay, but this is how it's supposed to be, and so on and so on. And I think that I wouldn't say that anything, well, there are definitely things that I prefer and don't prefer in different working cultures. I tend to believe that, I think that the Swedish working culture is quite like flat in hierarchy, and it's like people are like friendly and like proactive and so. But the thing is like when you're having, first of all, like in Vietnam, it's not a flat hierarchy. And also if you want people to be proactive and like say what they think and so, I mean, that's not really going to work. Well, it's very important to adapt to like how it is in country. And that was really challenging for me. And I think that's like a mistake that I did. Of course, I did many mistakes, but I think that being a little bit too kind, if I should be honest, because I was often, maybe because I am adopted from Vietnam, I had this like maybe like love to Vietnamese people, or like I was maybe like a little bit too forgiving sometimes, because like when something is like a working culture is so different from what you're used to, you become like, okay, well, all right, it's okay, you maybe how it is here, and you start to a little bit lower your expectations, if I should be really honest. And I think it's if I would do things a bit differently, would have been better at like instilling sort of like a working culture that like this is a Vietnamese, like it doesn't really matter like where you come from, but this is the working culture with us, and this is what is expected with us. And I think that that was a challenge, like putting sort of expectations that align to what we wanted to accomplish versus like maybe like performance and people sometimes. And another thing, like really honestly, I think that if you decide that you do, well, in my case, like B2C, which is like consumer facing startup, and you also are doing something that you are sort of a bit, well, the face for, like an ambassador for. I think it's the same, like it's even more hard if you are like a real like influencer, but you're going to like encounter like criticism, and people are going to maybe say like negative things, or like just like gossip, or and so on. So I think that like probably happens like all over the world. But I think that maybe in Vietnam, people, apart with the culture that, you know, you're not maybe as straightforward with like how you
Very indirect
think sometimes, like very indirect.
Yeah.
And that can make it a bit difficult when you are in a certain way straightforward and so and so. And sometimes people will not like that. But it's a thing that when you're having a company and it's in any like I think higher position, that's the reality. People cannot always like you. So I think that's some of the challenges that I faced.
Yeah, because you say you work also in Thailand, right? And other countries in Asia as well?
So I studied Mandarin in China before.
Mandarin, sorry, yeah. So in
And
China.
then and then I lived in Thailand mainly to do Thai boxing when I was younger.
Right.
I wasn't completely, and I had an internship in Vietnam also at the time when I found my Vietnamese mother. So I wasn't a complete newbie to Vietnam actually, but still a lot of things to learn.
I'm so interested. I'm so curious. I don't know if you want to share and how much you want to share, but can you tell us more about, you know, how you found your biological mother? It sounds like a fascinating story, and I'm sure that will inspire so many people, you know, just to really hear the story if you want to share.
No, it was really thanks to a lot of people like yourself, like a lot of kind-hearted people that Vietnamese or that lived in Vietnam that shared my Facebook post when I posted. So like, I think it's actually, I was thinking about this question because it's a little bit same with entrepreneurship, that, you know, the short story that I usually tell is that I posted on Facebook in 2016. I got super lucky. The post went viral in 24 hours. I was in the evening news, like big newspapers caught up my story. And 18 days after I posted, my Vietnamese mom read about me in one of the biggest newspapers. And then she contacted me. She bought tickets. She lived in Hanoi. I lived in Ho Chi Minh, to go and see me in Ho Chi Minh. And we celebrated Christmas together and then New Year's. And she was really happy to have found me. She never wanted to really give me away for adoption. So a really sunshine story. And I can talk about more how it was to find her, like the feelings. But that other thing, which I think is like that I not talk about that much, is that before these 18 days, I actually spent 3 years to like look for her, like back and forth. So I came to Vietnam in 2013 for the first time when I was 22. And then I visited a hospital where I was born. I asked them, do you have any information about my local parents? And they said, we have no information. If you are serious about finding birth parents, because I was like backpacking then, that you should live in Vietnam, should be here for a longer time. And that's when I thought that, okay, like now I can speak English, Swedish, Russian, some French. I want to learn Mandarin because it would be good for the future. But what if I choose a place in China that's close to the Vietnamese border and I study Mandarin there and I can come back to Vietnam to look for birth parents occasionally? So I did that. Actually, I moved to China. And then when I finished my studies in China, I moved to Vietnam also to teach some English with less Swedish accents than I have now. To teach some English, and then also to try to like look for my Vietnamese mom. I didn't do it so efficiently, and I didn't post on Facebook, but I was applying to, I think, like a TV show that was helping people to connect with lost relatives, and I did try. So this is the thing, that like what people see, and this is the same thing when you make it, so, like sometimes that they see like the whole like 2 million downloads, like, oh, like found your Vietnamese mother, like that. But it was a lot of, I always like my whole life wanted to find my Vietnamese parents, like especially my Vietnamese mother. So I think it's like I sort of like, wouldn't say manifest, but I really like saw in front of me that would happen one day. And then I really like engineer my life towards like higher chances to trying to find her. But in the end, I was able to find her because it was a lot of warm-hearted people that really resonated with the post that I got help with to write, and who shared it. And if they wouldn't have cared about it, then maybe I never would have found her. So yeah, and I'm really happy to have done that because it's a great contact today, and it's
That's a beautiful story. I'm so happy to hear. And thank you very much, for sharing to people that who don't know you yet as well. But that story that you just say, you engineered your life to be able to find her. I found that absolutely beautiful. To have that vision. And things in Vietnam are not always easy, but as you said, you have to know how to navigate the system, where to go, who to contact. It's patience and resilience as well, as you mentioned. I'm really, really happy for you. So she still lives in Hanoi, does she?
Yes, she lives in Hanoi. So I was born in Hanoi, and so I think I think it's so interesting to doing this podcast with people that are, different Vietnamese heritage and so. And for me, I was adopted when I was 3 weeks, and I never, I always felt at home in Sweden. I always felt Swedish, and it was more an interest about that. Where did I get certain things from? Because I'm a quite high achiever, and I always push myself. And my parents in Sweden, they never really pushed me. More like unconditional love, which is amazing. But and then I think that I'm very also humble and thankful for the fact that I have easiness to learn languages, for example, because some people think that it's just to work hard, and that's very important. But of course, if it's easier for you to learn things, like if you have easier for sports or languages or mathematics, of course, you have to work a little bit less. So for me, it was really that I thought that, where did I get certain things from? And I think it was interesting that when I found my Vietnamese mom, that I'm left-handed, she's also left-handed, and we have certain she studied finance, and we have certain things in common there. And my Vietnamese dad, who I actually never met, because they broke up before I was born. Hopefully I can find him someday. But he speaks actually English, Russian, and Japanese, and Vietnamese. And he studied at Foreign Trade University in Hanoi, which is quite a good university. So it was just very fun that and he also really liked different cultures, languages, sports. So yeah, it's that's why it's so interesting with this nature and nurture.
Yeah.
So I'm really thankful for my Vietnamese genes, and really proud to be adopted from Vietnam at the same time as I'm Swedish, and really happy for everything that I got from my parents.
That is absolutely beautiful. One of the reasons why you speak so many languages, and so it's easy for you to navigate in many cultures, as you mentioned. So, you have the family background as well. And I really want to ask you also, what would be your personal guiding principle that you live by? And I'm sure you talked a lot today as well, but I just wanted to say, can you shorten up, for us?
I think it's just the saying that I heard that it's a saying that goes sort of most people they have the ability to do extraordinary things with their lives, yet most people don't. They sort of sit in front of the telly and treat life as if it goes on and on forever. And I thought about that. I think I realized that that's how I want to live my life when I was 17, and I was looking for a quote to put on my Facebook, I think, because you should find a favorite quote. And I think that just realizing that my mother passed away, not my Vietnamese mother, but my adopted mother, when I was 9 in cancer. And I think that was really something that, of course, affected me a lot. It's something that you when you realize that life can end at any time. And there's so much to be thankful for, to be alive, just to be able to have 2 legs, to be able to walk around, to be able to have the opportunity to learn languages, for example. So I think that the way that I look at life is that it's a big, so much opportunity, so much things that you can do. And if ever I feel that, because of course, I'm definitely human as everyone else, this was not fun, or this was not nice. And so I always try to zoom out and think that, okay, but look at me, look how lucky I am. Look at all these things that I have. And so, and I think that just trying to disattach yourself a little bit from what other people think, and how what other people think is normal, etc. I think that especially as a woman frees you a bit, because women are so amazing, like so very kind and a little bit of people pleasers, which is really great. And sometimes it's not, because I think that if you care too much about like, oh, did I offend someone now? Or like, am I too much? Like, am I too little? Like, I really know what it's like. And I have had to work with still, like, and have to work with the same things. I think that is really what as a woman can hold you back sometimes, because like, what could you accomplish if you wouldn't have that sort of like voice that like pushes you down sometimes. So I think that's some ways to like really appreciate life and really make the most of it. And just like, you never know when life is going to end. So better live the life that you really want to.
Absolutely. I mean, you shared a lot about wisdom, the sense of gratitude, the motivation and determinations today, and you know, the fulfillment need that, you know, you want to see, you know, in 𝗪𝗂. So just to close up our last question, you know, for our Mosaic Mind, what do our listener need to cultivate to have a Mosaic mind like yours, which embrace diversity and celebrate the richness of human experience? What do you think that people need to cultivate even more to have a more of a Mosaic mind?
Yes, I think first of all, get out there and like look outside of the comfort zone. Like, expose yourself to new people, new cultures. That's really like enriching, and it will not only be an experience, it will be something that will shape you. And I think that when you encounter people, I think in a personal setting, it's easier sometimes maybe to different culture are so fun, like how people eat different things, or like how people look at this question and so on and so. And then when it's other subjects, for example, in a work culture, maybe it's a bit can be a little bit more like complicated. That's something that I usually do when I'm trying to have like a Mosaic mindset, is just like sometimes thinking that, okay, but you know, what about if I was this person, you know, what about like just trying to see the other person's like perspective, and also like be happy in the way that always like try to zoom out and think that like your way of thinking, like it's a result of your experiences and where you come from. But you can only like compare where you're coming from if you actually get out there. And there's so many countries out there. There's so much to see. There's so many people out there. So I think that to live your life only with the same people in the same country the whole time, I think I would encourage to break out of that and see something else. Yeah.
Sounds like, you know, we need to have a passport in our bag and ready to go on new ventures.
Yeah.
Denise, that was a delight talking to you today. So much word of wisdom. I can feel that the word is not big enough, you know, for you, but I absolutely love that mindset of expansion. And it's really, really important, you know, for us really just to rethink, as you said, the sense of perspective, that sense of comfort zone that we're having, and challenging it so then you can really push those boundaries and try some new things. And it's okay if it doesn't work the first time, you know, and push on trying and push on doing.
Yeah.
So I really wish you the best, you know, for your launch for your 𝗪𝗂𝗋 app, and let me know. And I hope that we can probably meet in Vietnam. I will be back there in a few months' time, but hopefully our time frame will match somehow.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Absolutely. So thank you very much. And I'll talk to you soon then. Okay.
Okay.
Cheers. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.